After my divorce years ago, I found myself completely broke. Broke as in sharing a room with my kids, sleeping on the floor. Broke as in feeding my 2 toddlers with food stamps. Broke as in I literally had no idea if I was going to be able to afford rent and whether we would end up homeless. And I also became really, really depressed. I mean, really depressed. I found myself sort of obsessed with my own misery. And the only thing I could think of is to volunteer, and that'll make me think about other people. And so I decided to call every place in my area I could think of, homeless shelter, soup kitchen, children's hospital, and I was going to volunteer. And this was going to be my way out of this horrible place I was in. And I got rejected from every single place. Now, if you already feel like a loser, getting rejected from volunteering will take your loser status to like a whole new level. And the reason I got rejected is because I couldn't afford a babysitter. So I would have to take my 2 young kids with me, and no homeless shelter or soup kitchen wanted a 2 and a 3-year-old helping. And I get it. I mean, they would have done more harm than good. And so here I was, finally with this brilliant idea of how I was gonna get out of this misery, and even that had failed. And one night, couldn't sleep, and I was crying, and I was thinking about my life, and I thought, even when I feel like a complete loser, is there something little, something tiny little that I'm still good at, that I'm still confident in? And the only thing I could think of is I know how to cook a great meal on very little money. I sent an email to all my friends in my area, and I said, every Wednesday night, I'm going to feed people. If you know anyone who needs a free meal, maybe they're struggling financially, or if you know someone who is lonely, maybe it's an elderly person who just lost their spouse, whatever the need is, I don't care. Bring them to my apartment on Wednesday nights. I am going to feed people. So that first Wednesday night rolled around, and I went to one of my favorite places, the dollar store, because when you're poor, the dollar store makes you feel like you're rich, because you can buy more than like 2 items, which is amazing. And went to the grocery store and spent some of my food stamps on just anything I could find that was on sale. I wasn't trying to follow a recipe. I was just trying to create the biggest meal I could with very little money. And then all these negative thoughts started creeping up again. Why would anybody show up to your place? Why would your friends bring anyone to you? They'd probably be embarrassed. You're depressed, Christina. Your life is a mess. No one's gonna expect you to be able to offer someone something. But 6 o'clock rolled around, and slowly people started coming in. Complete strangers started walking into my apartment and letting me feed them. And by the end of the night, I had fed a ton of strangers in my tiny little apartment on my tiny little budget with my tiny little kids. And I will never forget closing the door after that last person left and just sobbing. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sobbing tears of misery and desperation. I was crying like a broken little girl who just experienced her first glimmer of hope and of healing. And yes, life was still hard, and I was still sad, and there were still a lot of struggles. But I no longer felt defeated. And then the next day, I got emails from these strangers telling me how much my dinner meant to them. And I'm sitting there reading these emails, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Even when I feel like a complete loser, even when my life feels like a crazy, chaotic mess, if I focus on the little things that I do have and can do, I can turn it into something bigger than I ever expected. And that's literally how I now approach everything in my life. I am done focusing on all the things I can't do and all the things I don't have, all that negative noise. And what I've learned from those dinners is that when I shut down that noise and instead focus on the things I already have and the things I can do, that's where I feel peace. And that is where I can fully embrace and enjoy my crazy, awesome life.